Good evening and welcome. You are watching Going for Two. I am your host. My name is Sharona. Typically, Zach starts the show, but Zach is running a little bit late. And since I have to go record a podcast with the ITP guys, Mike and I, our special guest tonight, we went ahead and got started. Zach will be joining us here pretty soon. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining in. As always, we'll start out. Zach does the fancy speech. I start out with the booze. So I am drinking. I'm not a fan. Let me just go ahead and say, sorry. I'm not a big root beer fan, but I saw this. It's called Best Damn Root Beer. And it is an alcoholic beer. And it tastes like root beer. I know, shocking, right? But it's okay. It's a little different. We like to drink different stuff on here. So we're joined now by one of my good friends and a guy who, if you like fantasy football, particularly if you like to play IDP leagues, which I do, and he's been so helpful to me, and we're so happy he could join us tonight. But my friend Mike is on, and we're going to let him pop in and introduce himself and tell you guys a little bit about him, and of course plug all the great work that they do over at 4 for 4.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for the intro. Yes, I am coming from Cleveland, so I am a Cleveland sports fan, diehard, true and true. But yes, I have been playing IDP fantasy since 2007, and I used to play the defense special teams. But as soon as I discovered IDP, that's all she wrote. I do not hardly do any. I do a few defensive special teams here and there, but I'm really hardcore IDP, of course, and that is strictly what I'm doing at 4 for 4. Providing rankings, content this year. You know, I'll have, as a lot of people may know, I have all my rookie articles, who to target in your dynasty drafts, redrafts for the rookies. And I'll have my breakout pieces. I'll have an IDP primer in terms of strategy, how to prepare for drafts, and then I'll have my in-season content. So we're set to drop our initial rankings here shortly at 4 for 4, and I also provide all the snap counts for our Snap app. So what it does, it allows you to see who's getting the snaps, who's participating, and playing the most percentage of snaps. So that is what I'm doing at 4 for 4.
Well, now, I agree with you. I think that, of course, you know, traditionally it used to be, you know, your standard leagues were the king of fantasy. And, of course, you had a kicker and a team defense and, you know, your traditional slots. And now things have really moved way beyond that. And there's some really complex leagues out there. I play in one IDP hybrid. I'm going to get you to explain to everybody what that IDP means, but I play in one IDP hybrid where you actually draft a team defense too, but you have three, I think we have three, maybe four IDP players. Well, 4 roster spots. I think you play 2. So anyway, explain for those who might not be familiar what IDP is all about.
Sure. I'd be happy to. IDP is individual defensive players. So instead of drafting who's a good example? So instead of drafting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense, you can draft Levante David. Instead of drafting the Carolina Panthers defense, you can draft just Luke Kuechly. And the points are racked up similar to offensive players. You're gonna get points for tackles. You're gonna get points for assists depending on the league. You're gonna get sacks, fumbles, fumble recoveries, forced fumbles, everything involved. And so you accumulate your points for the individual players. And what I like about IDP a little bit more than your traditional defensive standard leagues is that eliminates some of the luck and some of the flukiness, even though you're still going to have some of those fluke plays. Like, you know, if someone gets a sack, fumble recovery, takes the fumble and returns it for a touchdown, you're getting all those points into one. But, you know, you're not going to run into that defense where they may pitch a shutout and they're going to get a ton of points and ruin what could be a week of really good offense. You get beat by a defense that just went off. Yeah. So, and there's different varieties and structures of leagues for people, for you guys that are just getting out into and testing the waters in IDP, there's so many different ways you can do it. You can do defensive end, defensive tackle, linebacker, cornerback, safety. You can also mix and just have a mixture and just have standard defensive line, linebacker, and defensive back. So if you're just starting, I would probably just take a spin and do something very simple. You don't need to make anything too complex, and just just enjoy and just try to do something simple at the outset. Draft a defensive lineman, a linebacker, and a defensive back, and then as you get into it, you can expand out, maybe get a few more defensive player roster spots, and then if you really get into where you have the specific designations: defensive tackles, defensive ends, linebackers, cornerbacks, safeties. And then if you just want to totally do away with offense altogether, you can just go right into an all IDP league, which I do a few of those, and I also do some mocks. Yeah, I do a few all IDP where there are no offense. And
I haven't ever played in one of those.
It's interesting because you don't have any offensive players. You're drafting defensive tackles and defensive ends, linebackers, cornerbacks, and safeties. And the one that I'm in, it's 16 teams, so it's really tough. Really tough. So
16-team leagues are tough because they're
regardless.
So deep. Yeah, you have to go into your draft with a strategy, a clear strategy, and if you don't, and I've gotten into trouble a few times. You really have to know if you play on a website. Now, we had Jody Smith on. Jody's been on a couple of times in the last few months. And Jody and I both started playing fantasy back in the dinosaur days when you didn't have – Yahoo was just getting started. NFL hadn't really – I don't even think they had a website. We did ours by – we emailed the commissioner, and he did everything by Excel spreadsheet. And Jody has like mountains and mountains of notebooks, which is really cool. I want to read all of his notebooks. But so you have to be careful. You have to know your website because it's gotten better. But like in the initial stages of IDP, they couldn't rank IDP players worth a darn.
Right. It's still tough.
Yeah.
My fantasy league does a really good job when you do draft. They at least get you ready, get you sorted by ADP. So if there's a lot of drafts, and if people are doing the mock drafts and are doing the draft properly, you can get a pretty good idea of who to take using the average draft position. But some of the bigger sites, they I don't know if they're still getting into it, but certainly use a site like ours, 4for4, where we have pretty good rankings and a pretty good idea of who to take within your draft.
Yeah, ADP is an interesting animal too because it has some subjectivity to it as well. We were talking, I forget which guest was on, and we were talking about this, but one of the more interesting, first, two-part question here. I'm sorry. The lawyer's coming out. Oh my God. So first of all, it was no surprise and no coincidence that you mentioned two linebackers when you were giving examples. Because the linebacking position definitely is a premium in IDP. I want you to talk about that. And then the second thing is when you get if you get deep into IDPs and you're doing defensive backs and that, it's not necessarily the better players that you want to target.
Right. Exactly.
So, could you speak to those two things?
Sure. Your linebackers, for me, I've almost equated them to your running backs. They are the guys typically that aren't leaving the field. They're going to be on the field for every single snap, thus giving them opportunities for tackles and making plays. So, you have the more snaps, the more opportunity. But what's interesting is that I'm noticing that the linebacking position is becoming really, really deep. And what's going and with the pass happy league, the way the league is shifting to a more pass friendly league, pass rushers are becoming a little bit more valuable. So your defensive ends are becoming a little bit more valuable. And I used to just wait on defensive end or defensive line and just stack up on linebackers. But the position, when you see the rankings and when you see all these guys, you can almost wait on linebacker and get a premium defensive end, a guy that you know is going to get anywhere between 13 to 15 sacks, and you can get somebody late. You don't have to necessarily draft a Luke Kuechly. You don't necessarily need to draft a J.J. Watt. You can go later in the draft, get someone that's going to put up similar or close to similar numbers, and then you got, not only do you have your elite defensive end or your elite defensive lineman, you can also get your cornerback. Now, when you mentioned your linebacker, and then you mentioned the defensive back, exactly right, especially when it comes to cornerback. Darrelle Revis has been touted as one of the best cornerbacks in football, and no one is disputing that. But when it comes to IDP, he's not good because nobody throws his way. Right. Everybody throws to the other cornerback, whoever that may be. So they're the ones that you're actually going to want to target in IDP because they're going to get defended passes and they're going to get tackles. So someone like last year, I can't even think of anybody off the top of my head, but, Joe Hayden, you would have Tremont Williams. He was that second cornerback, so people more threw his way. Another person that got targeted quite a bit, I believe, was Delvin Breaux in New Orleans. People threw his way. In Philadelphia, I know you had the name escapes me, but he was just really, really, really bad. And he was fantasy friendly, and he was DFS friendly and fantasy friendly because he couldn't cover anybody. And so he was getting tackles out of, after the play. So if just because a player is good, like Josh Norman is another example, no one is really throwing his way because, he's a lockdown corner. So you want to avoid those shutdown corners because they're going to see a few targets, but you want to target that second cornerback that's going to see a lot of balls thrown his way. I also like targeting safeties a little bit more first before the cornerback because they're playing all over. You've got your strong safeties that are not only playing in the backfield, but they're going to play near the line of scrimmage. So they're going to be both strong against the run and the pass.
Yeah. They're like an extra linebacker. A lot of teams use them like as an extra linebacker, like an in the box linebacker. And and I agree. I'll go after good strong safeties as well. Like former Vol in Kansas City and
Eric Berry.
Thank you. I am so bad with names.
Yeah.
My memory's terrible. So yeah, but that makes it fun and it's interesting and it's definitely challenging. So from the dynasty perspective, and dynasty is definitely a different animal because it's a thing that adds another element to it because you're looking for long-term guys. What kind of strategies do you recommend for people who are looking to join like a startup dynasty IDP league?
I would, in terms of this, I would probably still follow the same philosophy. You're not necessarily going to target some of the older guys first, like, DeQuell Jackson is still going to have a lot of value in redraft leagues, but you're not going to draft him with that same high pick as you would in a startup dynasty. So you're going to want to look to see who is going to get that first opportunity at a starting job. One of the guys that I really like is in Atlanta. His name's Deion Jones. He looks to be getting the first crack at a starting job at middle linebacker. So that's going to negatively impact Paul Worlow, who is not going to get a lot of snaps. So that's who you're going to want to look at, the guys that are going to get the opportunities at the outset. You've got Miles Jack, you've got Deion Jones, you've got you've got a lot of guys that are going to get opportunities. But you have someone like Jalen Smith, who's not going to play this year, but you still want to take him early because he's probably going to play next year, and he's going to provide a lot of IDP value.
So you would recommend taking him and stashing him?
Yes, I think he's definitely going to be a good draft and stash in dynasty leagues for sure. Now, keeper leagues are a little bit different animal. If you're only keeping a few guys,
Mm-hmm.
carrying over a few guys. You know, you don't necessarily need to reach for them, but you still want to keep a lot of those rookies still on your radar. Last year, I was able to get someone like Stephon Anthony, and he provided pretty big dividends. And he's someone, you know, that you can consider keeping over a year after year. So definitely watch your little mini camp rookie reports and see who's you know, who's getting those first crack and is going to get those snaps.
Yeah, I played the first fantasy football league that I played in was a keeper league.
Mm-hmm.
And if memory serves me correctly, we only kept 4 players from year to year. And so that was kind of, you know, that was interesting, and it definitely forces you to make it was a buy-in league, and you had to, you know, pay for waivers and whatnot. But yeah, it's definitely a situation where, you know, strategy is so important. So I think I knew this. You're a Cleveland fan, and I don't, you know, I was kidding. Since you are a Cleveland fan,
I'm not a Mexican dessert.
I know. Sorry. I've just now started drinking that root beer too. So let's talk a little bit. Let's turn our attention away from fantasy. We'll come back to it. I want to get your perspective on. I thought that, of course, Cleveland's getting a lot of accolades for the moves that they made in the draft, and I said, a couple of us said on this show that it looks like they actually have a competent structure in place now.
Yep.
Give us your evaluation of the moves that they made leading up to and during the 2016 NFL draft.
Well, I knew from the outset that they weren't really going to make very many moves in terms of acquisitions. I had, you know, everybody knew that Manziel was going to be gone, and everybody knew that Dwayne Bowe was going to be gone. But as soon as you saw the veterans like Dante Whitner and Carlos Dansby, you kind of had a feeling, all right, they're cleaning house and totally revamping this entire roster. Which then at the same time, I was kind of taken aback when they signed Robert Griffin, because I figured, all right, they got the second pick in the draft. They're going after a quarterback. And then everything changed once the Rams moved up to that first pick.
Right.
Everybody said that they were taking Casey Wentz. I'm like, nah, you're not going to sell the farm and build your franchise around someone like Carson Wentz. They're going after Goff. And then as soon as that happened, it's like, all right, well, they're trading down. I like the RG3 move just because it's a low risk move.
It's very low risk. I like it too.
So I think you bring in somebody that's going to have a chip on his shoulder and has something to prove.
And I think that he went to the coach that if anybody can rehabilitate him, it's Hugh.
Yeah, I really, really like the Hugh Jackson move. And it was, again, like, all right, everybody's praising Cleveland for this signing. Are we sure we got – I've never – it's really strange. We got somebody that chose us instead of getting the 8th or 9th guy that's like, yeah, we'll just bring him in because we need a coach. So it's like, oh my God, we got this guy that has a lot of charisma and he's got experience and he knows what he's doing and he chose us. This is all new. And then, you know, everybody's, you know, praising us, which is great. And you hear Hugh Jackson talk in the press conference and it's like, all right, well, we've had a few coaches that have won the press conference before, but doesn't translate. And I think one of the things that really got me, and it's like, all right, I think we got the guy. There was a video that the Browns had posted on their Facebook page, and it was Hugh Jackson walking into the lobby of the Berea headquarters, and the whole lobby was filled with everybody.
Aww.
Like staff workers, everybody just clapping and just welcoming him. So it was kind of cool. I'm like, all right, I think this guy I think we finally got it. And then once the draft came, it was a foregone conclusion. If you're listening to sports radio, monitoring Twitter, it was a foregone conclusion that the Browns are going to mess this draft up. And then, you know, they picked Corey Coleman. It's like, all right, well, they got a playmaker. Okay. And then they made the trades, and got more picks and they still got the guy that they wanted, and you still see who they're picking, and you're like, all right, well, they're drafting football players, they're drafting guys that have had a history of production in college and hoping to translate in the NFL, and you're reading that the Browns are actually getting good draft grades, and it's like, okay, this is
it like Bizarro World?
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, or did we finally get it? So, and we have a coach that has accountability. He said, you know what? Cody Kessler was my draft pick. He was the guy I wanted. That's my guy. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's on me. Corey Coleman, he showed up out of shape. Coach called him out at a press conference and said, hey, this kid's going to have some talent. He's going to have a nice career, but he's got to get himself in shape. He was gassed. We can't have that. So there's some accountability, and I think they finally have some structure. It's going to take a few years for this roster to gel and for things to kind of come together. But I'm excited. But also at the same time, I'm going to try not to show blind faith, because it's like I've done it for so many years. And every year it ends the same way. So I really am just going to come in with really low expectations and just say, you know what, you guys got to just show me the wins, and we'll just kind of see what happens. But I think we definitely got it right. And if Jimmy Haslam can just let him coach and let this regime pan out for more than 2 years and just let it bloom and see what happens.
Yeah, I think for Jimmy Haslam, the important thing for him is to get out of his own way.
Yeah.
He's been very much along the Jerry Jones line of ownership, and seems like he's learned and has taken that backseat role and is letting the professionals, so to speak, come in. So the Johnny Manziel thing, it's very unfortunate when you consider what a downward spiral his career has been. But you could kind of see, I hate to say it, you could kind of see that coming, though.
You could. I'm certainly not going to say, oh, I was on this guy and this guy, because there's really no way to prove it. But I know I did not want Johnny Manziel drafted by the Browns. What really did it for me is not, you knew what he did in college, and it's like, all right, well, whatever. But what did it for me is when I realized I didn't want him is when he got kicked out of Peyton Manning's quarterback camp. It's like, all right, he's not taking this very seriously. And he's just turned into he's a reality TV star. That's what he's turned into. And you could almost tell football wasn't going to be his primary concern, and it wasn't going to be his primary focus. And everybody's saying, oh, just let him be, he can do what he wants. And it's you just don't get it. The quarterback position is such a different position than every other position. You are the face of a franchise, and you can't just half-ass it and be successful. You have to put in work. You have to study. You can't just show up on a Wednesday during the middle of the week and be ready for a Sunday. It just doesn't work that way. And he really threw away a really good opportunity to be loved in the city and to turn around a franchise, and he didn't care. And he can't get out of his own way, and he just, I don't want to tell him, I don't want to sit on my high horse and say he needs help. It's not, it is what it is, and he's just going to be another footnote in the NFL.
I said before, actually, his senior, he came out as a junior, as I recall.
Yeah, so I think he came out junior.
So his last year playing in college, I said a couple of times, the first question I would have asked Johnny Manziel is, do you want to be an NFL quarterback? What do you want? Do you want to play football, or do you want to be a celebrity? If you want to be a celebrity, go do that. If you want to be a quarterback in the National Football League, then do that. But that's going to require you to not do some of these things that you're doing. Yeah. But nobody ever asked him that. And, you have to wonder, you know, what kind of environment, you're seeing a lot with the Baylors and all the
Hmm.
stuff that you hear. Now, do you follow college football? You an Ohio State fan?
Not. I don't follow college as much. I start following it, more towards once the combine starts, just for fantasy purposes, and I just start
Okay.
watching. I watch YouTube tapes, YouTube videos and things like that. But I'm not heavily into college. And funny, being from Ohio State, I feel weird about it. It's just I don't follow Ohio State. It feels like since I didn't really go there, I don't have any ties to it.
Okay. No, that makes
But
sense.
it's cool when they win. It's fine. But if they don't, I'm not like depressed. I just hope they beat Michigan every year. But
Right. Well,
it's
JT Barrett is, shortlist Heisman Trophy candidate.
mhm. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be tough. Ohio State lost a ton of starters,
Yeah.
but they'll reload. Urban Meyer always will reload.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they do at Ohio State.
Well, don't get me started about Herb.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, from coming from an SEC girl, I
yeah.
distinctly remember his Florida days. Well, the Cleveland Cavaliers, though, they're a successful Ohio Cleveland team. Are you an NBA guy? Do you watch basketball?
I do, especially now that LeBron came back. It was a rough 4 years while he was gone,
Yeah.
but it's certainly become a lot more fun now that he's returned. But yeah, Cavs are undefeated in the playoffs. Big win last night, and we're looking. The whole city is amped and ready to roll. It's funny. I think what you're going to see for the playoffs is an angry LeBron because he's been so
Mhm.
disrespected over these last couple of weeks. It's all
Well,
about Stephen Curry, Stephen Curry, Stephen Curry, and
hmm
Stephen Curry's a great player. But I think LeBron's just sitting in the back and just be like, all right, you guys keep talking. You'll see what I can still do.
I kind of have a love-hate relationship with LeBron James. I mean, on the one hand, the talent is undeniable. He's a
Yep,
very talented player. I think that he's matured a lot
I do too.
over, since his early Miami days and,
Early Cleveland, yep.
yeah. Now, were you the decision was okay or the decision sucked? Boo LeBron guy. Which side of the
Um,
fence were you on?
I was the execution of the decision stunk. The decision itself, I would have been more than okay with. It
Yeah,
was the televised
it was too much.
backstabbing, I guess, if you will. It was that televised
Yeah,
stab in the heart of the decision. If he
yeah,
just would have said, you know what, I'm going to play for Miami, and then it would have just not been this hoopla, that would have been
yeah.
fine. I would have understood it. But the execution of the decision is what really was like, are you serious? And you're thinking, all right, he's going on national television. There is a special.
It was ridiculous.
He's not gonna do this to Cleveland. He's not gonna say he's not coming back. And yeah, he went to Miami.
It was ridiculous. The very public, although there wasn't a lot of material, but clearly he and Dan Gilbert had a lot of bad blood,
Yeah.
and that they were able to get past all of that is
Mhm.
pretty amazing. What is Obviously Cleveland has now welcomed him home. Is there
Yeah.
still any lingering bad feelings there?
If there is, you can't really tell. It's
Well, it helps that you're winning.
yeah. Winning is the cure all, as they say. But if there is, they're certainly not bubbling to the surface. And I have, at this point, you just have to think, all right, whatever problems they've had with each other, they've definitely cleared the air. And if they didn't, I don't think he would have come back. So I think they kind of hashed things out before he returned. And he's making Gilbert money again. He's making the
Hmm.
city of Cleveland money again, and we're kind of we're kind of back, and it's definitely nice to see it. All is forgiven when you win in sports.
in sports and just about everything else too.
Yep.
Yeah, he's definitely um, money can smooth over a lot of things,
Mhm.
and LeBron's doing pretty well, and Dan Gilbert's doing pretty well, and the city's doing pretty well. So, and
Yep.
they're winning, and all those things, definitely happen. What do you think his long-term future is there?
Well, I think the way he came back, I don't think he can leave Cleveland. At least that's what I'm thinking. Um, but I think he genuinely loves where he's from, and I think he's probably going to stay until he retires. So, um, we'll see if he can bring a title to Cleveland. He can do whatever he wants after that. He's he's free to do whatever. If he snaps the 50-year drought, he can go to whatever team he wants to go to.
Oh, Zach says he's trying to come in via the app.
Oh God.
He's, what are we going to do with him? Let me send him the direct link like I did you, and maybe that'll help. Uh, Hang on. I'm sorry. Hang on just a second. Let's see.
Riveting video podcast being made.
I
Try to
know.
welcome Zach in.
Zach always causing trouble. There. Oh. Okay. All right. So, all right. Any other sports? No, it's what the Cleveland Indians, that's their MLB. Are you a baseball guy?
Yeah, I just got back into baseball just a few years ago, and funny thing is it's daily fantasy that got me back into
Oh
baseball.
yeah? Okay.
So yeah, I started playing. Not really too heavy. I'm certainly not like a heavy volume player. I play here and there, but it's what daily fantasy is what kind of got me back into following baseball. And yeah, follow the Indians, of course. But yeah, no, if it's on, I will have it on, and it's a great summer sport because it's just the game takes its own time. There's no time clock, and it finishes when it finishes, and the game is at its own leisurely pace.
Yeah. I haven't played DFS baseball.
Mhm.
I can imagine though that in some ways I could see it being a little bit easier. Some ways I could see it being harder.
I think it's
Drafting
harder.
drafting to me would be harder, but the playing would be easier. If that makes any sense.
I think with daily, there's just so many stats and so much numbers that I think it's one of those sports where you can't just piece a team together, that it will require some research on a daily basis to see, because you've got matchup splits. You have pitchers that are throwing lefty. Does the hitter do better against lefties, or does he do better against righties? Is the righty better against righties? And then you've got reverse splits, and then you've got all the advanced stats. So I think when it comes to that, I think when it comes to daily, I think it's a little bit more difficult. It definitely requires a little bit more research. Season long, I think, is a little, I'm not going to say easier, but you've got your season long where you just kind of prepare for a draft, and then you just got to pay attention to who's not, same things. Does one of my bench players, does he have a better matchup than the guy I have in my lineup? Does he have a platoon advantage? And then you have to deal with call-ups. So there's still, a little bit, it's just like anything. You still have to, monitor everything throughout the entire season. But it's every single day for 6 months.
Yeah, see, and Dad in hockey, are you a hockey guy?
No, I watch hockey. I didn't really play DFS hockey, and basketball was the same way. You have to monitor all the matchups, and you have to monitor, is someone getting enough minutes? Are they playing 30 minutes? Are they only going to get 20 minutes? Are they starting? Are they coming off the bench? And again, same thing. It's an every single day. I think that's still why football just remains king. It's just once a week. You can start your research on a Thursday, and by Sunday you're good to go, and you don't have to worry about last-minute scratches or being someone removed from a lineup. You have an injury report that is available to you throughout the entire week, so all right, well, this guy's probably not going to play. you can start researching and whoever his backup is. So, but yeah, no, but I do, and I still enjoy playing baseball, and got into basketball. Football obviously still king, but yeah, definitely do like baseball.
Yeah, DFS is an interesting animal. It's
Yes.
of course been the subject of a lot of legalities,
Mhm.
legal maneuverings and stuff. I I've not really gotten into it. I don't play DFS.
Mhm.
It's just fantasy sports can be so time consuming anyway, and I have other
Yep.
things that I do, and I'm a gamer.
Yep.
So but outside, I still love doing fantasy, but I also like to reserve time. When I get spare time, I like to game. Now, are
There you
you a
go.
gamer? Do you play game? Are you a Xbox, PS3, PS4?
Me and I've got two boys, and we've got an Xbox 360, and we
Okay.
have a Wii U. So,
Ah, yeah. Oh,
yeah,
look, there he is.
Wait a second. You hear me?
I
I
can
gotcha.
hear you. There he is, Mr. America.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I said, oh, I'll do a dinner with my coworkers, and of course, it took 2 hours longer than I thought it would. But I'm sure you've already talked about the important topics, right?
We talked about you for 30 minutes.
Hi, Mike. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Now, we've been talking about a lot of different things since you weren't here, although Zach's kind of gotten into hockey. Zach is a football monogamist. He used to give me a hard time about other sports, but he's been watching hockey.
Well, yeah, since I'm a Pittsburgh guy, and I'm sure Mike will love that,
Ugh.
I've been watching the Penguins, and actually tried to watch the game from the couch of the beach condo I was staying at. My wife woke me up when they scored the goal in overtime. I'm like, oh, good, yay, we won. I go to sleep.
No, sorry, I don't root. I can't stand Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
Anything
boo,
Pittsburgh.
I understand.
Yeah.
I get that. Don't be a traitor like Andy
Yeah.
Well, Zach,
That.
you came in at a good time, Zach, because Mike and I were just getting ready to talk gaming. He said he and his boys have PS3, and they
No,
also have
Xbox.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, we
Xbox
got the Xbox
360
360 and we have a Wii
and a
U.
Wii U. And Zach has a Wii as well, so see, you guys can bond over Wii talk.
The only reason I thought about getting a Wii U was because of the new Mario Kart game. That was it.
I gotta tell you, Mario Maker is awesome. The Super Mario Maker where you make your own levels.
See, I would love that because I still have my original Nintendo and Super Mario and Super Mario 3 and Contra. Those are my three favorite games.
Yep. I grew up with the Nintendo, and I'm all about Legend of Zelda.
Oh yeah, and that too. Yeah, Zelda. Oh yeah,
and then
countless.
and then I went to Sega Genesis. I abandoned Nintendo, and I was a Genesis guy.
I never had a Sega Genesis. I went straight from the original Nintendo to the original Xbox, which I still have it too. And I have a 360. And then last year before last, with my fantasy football winnings, I purchased an Xbox One. And Mike, I have to tell you, the Xbox One, I really enjoy it a lot more than I expected.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. I don't know if we're gonna get there yet, but the Wii U is definitely
How old
for
are your
old
boys?
school, 11 and 8.
Well, see, yeah, they're still,
So the Wii U is very family friendly. So
yeah,
that's what did it for us with that.
yeah. I'm sorry, my root beer is sweating all over everything. I had a little
Did you say
spillage there.
root beer?
I'm drinking. See, you missed it. I'm drinking a Best Damn root beer, which amazingly tastes like root beer. I'm not. It's okay.
That is the
It's all right.
only alcohol that I brought to the beach I did not consume because I thought my sister-in-law and her boyfriend would drink it, but they would not.
Oh.
If you like craft beer, do not go to the beach. You're gonna cry the whole time. I saw one guy had Cigar City, and the rest everybody was drinking Bud, Crapo the whole time. They were drinking that watermelon margarita stuff, and even they didn't like it. And they got the strawberry. I'm like, come on, people! I brought all those low alcohol beers that Sharona makes fun of me for. I was drinking all the Gozes all weekend long. I had about 30 of them, and it was a glorious time. I drank them all day and had no hangovers. It was great.
See, Zach, you missed it. Mike is a craft beer guy, too. You guys could have bonded over craft beer early on in the show. We talked about that.
Yeah, we've got some good micros here. One of my favorites that I got a chance to try. I don't know if you guys get like any of the Ohio beers down there, but there was a Willoughby Brewing Company beer. It was Peanut Butter Cup Coffee Stout.
Ooh, see, I would like that. Coffee stouts are my favorite.
It was. I got a little sample and it was outstanding. But I really like the Great Lakes brews. That's primary. That's my primary beverage of choice. And then we're going down to South Carolina in a few weeks, and I'll probably partake in a few hopefully while I'm down there.
Fortunately, earlier today I started with an IPA Hop Hunter Sierra Nevada. It was pretty good. I know a lot of people are like, IPAs, turn their nose up at them, but I like them.
They're the devil.
Whatever. You're the devil.
That's true. I actually have my trunk full of. I stopped at Total Wine before I went to dinner. I got a cider for house and an Angry Orchard. It was had ginger in it.
Yeah.
And she didn't really like it that much, so I said, all right, I'll just go get one of each kind and bring it home. So that's what I did. And it's weird because I'm a big fan of. There are all these breweries in Michigan I really like, but I don't know if a lot of the Ohio stuff makes it to Atlanta. I don't know what the deal is, but we get Bell's and New Holland and forget Founders down here, and I'm like, what?
See, I love New Holland.
What do we get from? Dragon's Milk. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Should be a sponsor.
Should be. My Dragon's Milk is my favorite beer.
I will keep that in mind. One of my favorites is Great Lakes. It's called Lake Erie Monster.
Ooh.
And it was
sounds good.
Really good, really good.
Now what is it?
Funny thing is, it is a devil beer according to Zach. It is an IPA, but it is very good.
I'm sure there are ones I would like. I don't know. The bitter flavor is just one that doesn't work.
Well, you don't drink coffee, so.
It actually isn't too bad. It doesn't have too bad of a flavor. It doesn't have a really strong bite. And then, of course, the Christmas ale is the big one. People camp out, and they will camp outside the brewery for that one.
Which one is that?
The Christmas ale.
Oh, yeah, and I've had a Christmas ale. Those are good.
Yeah, it's got some ginger, got some cinnamon. Really good. Warms the belly.
So Zach just got back from the beach. We have to ask him how his beach trip went.
Well, I did drink all of my beer, so that was good.
What are you doing? Where are you? Are you home now?
I just got home. I'm probably not even going to turn my computer on since we're, near the end. But I had to try. I picked up some groceries, and I was like, well, I have to go to a liquor store. So what did I find? I found one of those Omegang 3 bombers in a glass. So I got that.
Oh.
And they had a chocolate indulgence. I've never heard of that. Hennepin, which is a farmhouse one that it's but they have the 3 Philosophers, which of course is one of my favorites because it's a quad with cherry. Dark beer for my dark soul.
Frou-frous.
Exactly. But it has the glass. It's not the Game of Thrones glass that Sharona likes, but it is a nice beer glass because you have to have your glassware. It's important.
You do. It's definitely important. You guys, Zach was giving me a hard time earlier because if you watched last week, I binge watched the first 3 episodes of season 6 of Game of Thrones, And because, of course, then what did I do? I'm already an episode behind. I didn't get to watch last Sunday night. So I really kind of wanted to, but it just didn't happen. And so, but I'm not going to let it pile up because 3 episodes of Game of Thrones, no, I just can't do that.
You are talking to someone who has never seen an episode.
Oh, yeah?
Whoa.
Yeah, to me, Game of Thrones is the show that is before Silicon Valley.
Ah, okay. So I tried to watch Silicon Valley, and I just couldn't do it. I mean, it's definitely a nerd guy.
Yeah, it's a show up my alley. It's hysterical. I'm a kind of a techie guy, but it's funny. The whole cast is hysterical. Mike Judge is such a fantastic writer, and it's such a great show.
All right, so you and your sons play Mario, but do you play like any sports games? Are you a sports gamer at all? No.
Yeah, we played. We've got NBA, 2K, and I used to play Madden, so I haven't played that a whole bunch recently. But yeah, it's mainly he plays a lot of Minecraft, and all the kids are playing Minecraft, and I'm still I still like to play the Lego games. We've got a few Lego games.
Those are fun.
Oh, the Lego games are so much fun. They're so good. And but yeah, Mario Maker was really fun to make all the different levels in the first one and just kind of do your own thing. It's really cool.
All right. Okay. Well, very, very, very cool. Okay, so let's move back to fantasy football.
Sure.
We started talking about your rankings and rookie drafts and all of that. So tell us, what guys do you like? What guys are you kind of lukewarm on, and what guys are you staying away from?
I mean, I guess staying away from is tough. I try not to stay away from anybody just because if they present good value at where they fall, I will take them. But in terms of guys I like, I try to monitor the guys that are going to get the opportunity, some of the sleepers, because everybody knows, all right, everybody's going to take Luke Kuechly, everybody's going to take Levante David, everybody knows about those guys. One thing that you might be able to take advantage of is if your league mates, if you kind of know their tendencies, they'll forget about the guys that were injured last year.
Right.
So one of the guys I really like that's going to be coming back this year is Alec Ogletree for the Rams.
Rams.
So he's going to be coming back manning the middle, and up until his injury last year, he was on pace for a pretty big season. So Alec Ogletree is a guy that will definitely produce and someone you can target. I mentioned Paul Rullo. People stay away from him. He's not gonna matter this year. And then in terms of a sleeper, I like a guy from Denver. Keep an eye on him. His name's Todd Davis.
Okay.
He's going to be taking Danny Trevathan's spot. So since he went to Chicago, he will have the opportunity to get first crack, if you will, at the snaps at linebacker.
Is Denver's defense going to be as good this year, do you think, or not?
I don't see any reason why it shouldn't be. I mean, they lost Malik Jackson, but they've got an up-and-comer, Shaq Barrett, who I think can kind of fill a pass rushing role. And then, of course, anytime you have Von Miller, he's just going to wreak havoc on anybody, no matter where he lines up. So I still think Denver's defense is still going to be pretty solid.
Yeah, they've got what is your thought on Malik Jackson?
I like where he ended up in Jacksonville. They've totally improved their defense everywhere. So they've got a good interior defensive line with Derek Marks, and Malik Jackson is going to really get an opportunity to get to the rusher. They've got Telvin Smith, obviously drafted Miles Jack, and they still have Paul Leslie back there. Jalen Ramsey, I think, is going to be a guy that's going to come in and produce and be close to a shutdown corner. So I think with their improved secondary, they're going to get some coverage sacks. So I like that defense. I like where Malik Jackson ended up.
Yeah, it was kind of hard for me to sort of watch that go down. But you saw. I mean, they let Robert Ayers, another Tennessee guy, and they let Yeah, they let him walk. I've always been a little leery about former players and management positions and all of that, but I have to say I've been really impressed with the job that John Elway has done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you kind of wonder, it's like, all right, well, why hadn't Cleveland given Bernie Kosar a chance to be in some sort of position? And, I know it sounds crazy, and people have said that, oh, it can't work, but boy, you look at, a guy like John Elway, and you look at Ozzie Newsome in Baltimore, and boy, they've really, transitioned and really filled that executive role pretty obviously very, very well.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. I muted Zach because he was making some noise, and then I couldn't figure out how to unmute him, so I ejected him.
Did you boot him? You
I
booted
did.
him?
I booted him. I sent him a message. Zach, come back. I'm sorry. But he was, it was a little noisy, and I was having trouble hearing Mike. So, okay. So yeah, I can understand that. What did you think about? Let me ask you this. I was going to ask you something else, but let me ask you this. I was asked a few weeks ago. I did a podcast talking about. This was actually before the draft, talking about the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
Jarrell Casey is such a great player, and he's a guy who. He had that one year where his stats were so outrageous and glorious and sexy and all of that, but he doesn't really play the position that gets all those. What are your thoughts on him?
I like Casey. He's a guy that produces, and I really like Dick LeBeau, and he puts his talented guys into positions to produce. So I think he's a top 20 guy. I think he's someone you target as like your second defensive lineman. But I still think that Titan defense should still be pretty decent. I know they still got Brian Rockbo. I know Derek Morgan is I think he's still nursing an injury. But I think Kevin Dodd is going to be pretty solid for you guys. And they still got Avery Williamson, who I like at inside linebacker.
Yeah.
And I know they brought in they didn't bring in, but they've still got Woodyard, who's still capable. So I think the Titan defense could be okay. I mean, they're going to be on the field a lot, though.
Yeah, I think that their problem is going to be their secondary, and they picked up some guys. Their third round, I think it was third round selection, third or fourth. They picked up a defensive back, and then they've got they picked up someone later on. But the secondary was an issue, and I think it's going to remain an issue. When we were talking about defensive backs that got targeted a lot, the guy who sprung to my mind was Cody Sensabaugh, who was a fantasy football dream, because
and there was also if I'm pronouncing his right, Bleedy Ray Wilson.
Bleedy Ray Wilson, Bleedy.
He was a DFS godsend because he just allowed so many points to the receivers that he would cover.
Yeah, both of those guys just. Cody was a lot better before he had an injury a couple of seasons ago, and he hasn't been the same. We saw that with Michael Griffin. Of course, he's gone, and I forget where he ended up. But
I do like Denora Cersei.
Yeah, I like
Cersei.
The Titans have done really well getting defensive back safeties, in particular from the Bills, and so that was a move that I liked too. So. Final thing for people just looking to get into IDP. Give us like your top 5 strategies.
For me, top 5 is if you're doing an IDP offense, like if you're in a mixed draft your offense first to build an offense before you target your IDPs. Get your linebackers. You want to target a defensive end that's going to get you anywhere between 13 to 17 sacks. In terms of your defensive backs, target your safeties. and you don't necessarily need to go after the top guys. It's a very volatile position, and there's always guys that are going to emerge throughout the season. So it's almost a position that you can stream on a weekly basis. So if you can get one top guy, that's fine. You don't need to worry about getting a second. You can just stream the position. So that's kind of where I'm at with those positions. But I do still like the linebackers. I try to leave a draft with at least 4 to 5, and then just monitor the wire and keep an eye on the backups, because someone's going to get injured, and then another linebacker, defensive end, or corner is just going to have that opportunity to slide right in and get that opportunity to produce.
Do you have any waiver wire strategies?
Not necessarily. It's just, whatever happens. I don't buy, huge weeks. Like if some second team defensive lineman gets has a 3-sack game, I'm not going to chase the numbers. But just kind of, if that guy does have a good week, if you have the ability to put them on like a watch list where you can kind of see what they're doing on a week-to-week basis, go ahead and pick them up. But I would monitor, in terms of depth charts, the linebackers, monitor the backups, and same thing with corners, monitor their backups in case of injuries.
Very, very, very good. All right, so Mike, thanks for joining us tonight. Sorry about Zach being such a loser and
that's all right.
Ruining everything. So tell everybody again where they can find you and give a plug to 4 for 4, and where they can get you on social media and all of that.
Absolutely. Yep. I will be putting all of my content on 4for4.com. We will be dropping our rankings tomorrow, so keep an eye out for that. But 4for4.com. And awesome. If you have any questions, or if is anybody, you want to talk IDP, if you have any specific questions, you can follow me on Twitter. That's at Mike_Woellert, WOELLERT. I am always available to talk, answer questions at any time.
Very solid advice. I can tell you, I ask Mike questions all the time, and he always gives great advice, and he's a great follow. And the 4for4 guys are fantastic. Yes. Now, is my girl Jennifer, is she getting settled in?
Yeah, she is. She's doing real well. She's a welcome addition. It was, welcome her aboard. Give her a follow. I don't know her. Do you have her Twitter handle offhand?
Yeah, it's at the Monday Mommy.
There you go. And then follow at 4for4 _ Josh, at 4for4 _ John, and follow at 4for4 football.
Yeah. Very good.
Cover us all, and we are looking forward to the 2016 season.
Yeah, go football. It's almost here. Training camps will be here before you know it. Thanks again, Mike. Really appreciate it. And thanks to you for watching. I'm Sharona. You can follow me there on Twitter at Sports by Sharona. And having to bug out a few minutes early because I'm getting ready to do a podcast with the ITP guys. I'll post a link for that. Hi, Zach. We missed you tonight. Come back soon. Hope you enjoyed your vacation. And as always, kiss our grits.